Hey everybody, it is Jason from the Texas Gun Vault 2, and I'm out here. Obviously, I've been filming some videos. I should probably turn off the audio on this camera for now. I think I got my audio pack here on as well. Got to save those batteries. But I'm out here in the garage. Just finished the Texas Gun Vault poll question of the week and a mailroom video where I got a cool gun cleaning mat. But I'm about to clean, speaking of gun cleaning, the B&T APC 300. So before I get this back to D, I like to clean up all the guns first. So while I was going to do that, I said, you know what? I need to make the Texas Gun Vault 2 question and answer number 4, I believe it is. So I think I got 3 questions from the last video that people had asked. And this is just a little video segment where if you have anything you want to ask me, it doesn't have to be about guns. It can be about, pop culture. It could be about movies. It could be about whatever. Or it could be about guns that you want to ask that might not be relevant in some of my other videos that I make on the main channel. Or maybe questions you have asked and that I have missed because I just get so many comments. I can't keep up with them over on the main channel. So I went back to the last video, and I think I got 3 is what I saw. The first one comes from Joe Morgan, who asked, I got a good one for you. Out of all the guns you ever had personally, what was your favorite that you would run into a burning building to save, and what is your least favorite? That's a good question, because there's definitely guns that I look up on my list and go, wow, that's either expensive or it's sentimental. If I could only do one, it might have to be from a practical standpoint. I think the one that I think the gun that maybe I look at the most is kind of the coolest is my HKP7 M13. But from a practical standpoint, I think getting my Mark, if I was having to only save one, it'd be my Mark 18 Mod 1 clone build. Because that's such a versatile gun, and it's a really cool and expensive gun. The gun that I've ever owned that I had the least affinity for, the one was my least favorite, is, actually it's kind of in the vein of that HKP7. It's the Walther CCP, I think is what it is. It's the gas delayed blowback pistol, and it is, I guess, because it uses the same gas system as the P7, you think it's going to be cool. It's made by Walther, which honestly makes great guns. This gun is a POS. I mean, the trigger in it is horrible. Not very accurate. Recoil's heavier than what I think it should be. Capacity is low. It's a great concept. And you sit here and go, okay, wait. You know what HK did with the P7, and you're a great company that makes fantastic guns. Why don't you put more investment into this? And they could. Honestly, if they made the trigger better, it'd be pretty good. And maybe, of course, make a double stack version of it. It has so much potential, but I hated that thing. Normally, I don't sell guns. I don't let guns leave my collection. I just, even if it's a gun I'm like, about, it kind of stays with me. Not always. I have been known to make a trade from time to time with something that I either got tired of. Like I have traded Colt 1911s for other things. I did sell a Colt Python because I wanted an HK, was it the SP5K when they first came out. So I did that. So it's not like, I don't let anything go. And I still haven't regretted selling that Python. It was a beautiful gun, by the way. The only regret I have is that it's worth so much more now. I think I bought it for $1,400, sold it for $2,500, but I think they go for like $4,000 now. But I did make money on it, but I am glad I have the HK SP5K. But yeah, that CCP, I didn't regret selling it all. When I was like, this thing is a piece of junk, I don't want it anymore, I didn't have any regret selling it. So that's my favorite and least favorite, or what I would save or not save. Then I have Matt Moore, who asks, I know trombone is your instrument, but can you play others like piano? My son, misread that here. My son plays the saxophone in band. Since he can read music and understands the notes, he can play piano untrained, not particularly well, but it's great for Christmas music and such. Yeah, I can play piano as well. When you go and get a music degree, and if you guys don't know, I actually have a doctorate in music performance. Yes, I am a geek, and music is my life. But at every level of your musical training, one of the classes you're forced to take is what they call class piano. Essentially, it's not like one-on-one piano lessons, but you learn how to play piano because visually you understand the relationships between pitches and key signatures and melody. You can kind of visualize it in your mind, which is the whole point. But I was always, I want to say gifted, but piano was going to be my instrument. I mean, even though I never took piano lessons, I think I was born to be a jazz piano player. It comes naturally to me, but I never pursued it. I always ended up playing trombone. But yeah, so I can play piano. I also play a little bit of tuba and euphonium. That's also another instrument that I teach. I also teach tuba and euphonium, so all the low brass instruments. That's mainly what I do. I don't play guitar. I don't have the digital dexterity to do that. I don't play any woodwind instruments or any of that. So trombone is my main, euphonium my secondary, which I think I'm pretty good at. Tuba is my third, and then I can fiddle around with the piano a little bit, especially. So that's what I do. All right, I think I had one more. And this one comes from 1000 Mountains, who said, what are your thoughts on red flag laws and how are they able to pass a law like this? Because the individual doesn't have due process, it's unconstitutional. Aren't citizens of this great country innocent until proven guilty in the court of law? So how have different variations of this passed in various states? I would think at some point somebody would sue the state for lack of due process, and it could make it to the Supreme Court for a decision. Citizens either have due process in all aspects of the law, or we can't have it both ways. And I agree with you, and you ask a fantastic question. And a lot of it has to do with what I think some legal scholars call a post-constitutional republic. So what our republic has evolved into with our Constitution is that the Constitution says what it says until it becomes inconvenient for some. And people will, instead of go through the process of amending the Constitution, they use legalese and and these lawyers and judges will worm their way around words to make it seem like, well, we definitely need to stop this, so we can ignore the Constitution and the clear reading of the Constitution in this instance. Happens all the time, A good example is the National Firearms Act. For example, the Constitution says that the Congress has jurisdiction over interstate commerce, which means it can regulate commerce between the states. It doesn't say anything about intrastate commerce, which means commerce within the state itself. So when they passed the National Firearms Act, they only really had jurisdiction on if a state manufactured an NFA item and it went across state lines. And that's what the Miller case dealt with. If you guys don't know what the Miller case is, look at Miller v. United States. I want to say it's 1938, I think it was, maybe. But anyway, it had to do with a case where this guy, this person, transported a short barrel shotgun across state lines. Okay, he passed away before the case made it to the Supreme Court, and his attorney neglected to show up because his client had passed away. They still held the case because the Franklin Delano Roosevelt administration wanted the NFA to be upheld under constitutional grounds, so they still held the case. And the Supreme Court said that the NFA was constitutional, essentially. And one of the problems is that it says the Constitution says that the government can regulate commerce between the states, but what if an NFA item doesn't leave the state? Well, they go, well, in order to facilitate this, just the production of an NFA item is interstate commerce because it could affect interstate commerce in the future or whatever. And that has to go all the way back to another Supreme Court case called Wicker v. Filburn, which deals with a farmer who grew his own wheat and then didn't enter it into the marketplace and either consumed it himself or destroyed it, but was sued by the state during the Great Depression because it didn't go into interstate commerce. And he said, well, I never used it. It never entered commerce. But the Supreme Court said the fact that he grew it, it was. It's all convoluted. It's all convoluted. It's terrible case law. But anyway, that's the way that we do things now. In that what will happen is they'll pass these red flag laws. Somebody will sue over them. And they will say, well, it is not constitutional, but we need it. So instead of us actually going through the process, having the debate, and there's two ways of amending the Constitution. Either, I think it's 3/4 of each House of Congress can pass an amendment, and then it has to be ratified by 37 states, or 3/5 of the states. Or the states can call a constitutional convention by 2/3 of the states, and then whatever comes out of that convention has to be ratified by 3/5 of the state. It's never been done that way. It's always been the first way. But there is the second way of doing it. But they don't want to do that because they can't get it to pass. So they just do this legal, workaround, and then it just becomes precedent. They're like, well, we've been doing it this way for so long, it's just considered tradition. And that's a post-constitutional republic, in that we have a constitution, it says what it says, but we ignore what it says because of convenience, and it goes both ways. So, for example, before the Supreme Court case recently with the Second Amendment, the Second Amendment says shall not be infringed. And, liberals, and I shouldn't say liberals, anti-gunners, okay? Many liberals are anti-gun, but they'll be like, well, it doesn't really mean shall not be infringed. No right is absolute, and, even though it's written in there. But then when it comes to the other, big hot button issue right now, abortion, the Constitution doesn't say anything about abortion. It doesn't say anything about privacy. It doesn't say anything about medical issues. So therefore, a clear reading of the Constitution would go to the 10th Amendment and say any powers not delegated to the federal government are reserved to the states respectively. And so the states have the right to either regulate those as they see fit, because the federal Constitution doesn't say anything about it. Now, if you want the federal Constitution to say something about it, whether to be pro or con, there is an amendment process to make that happen. But essentially now we just turn to the Supreme Court and go, please make this happen for us. And they'll come up with law out of the, thin blue sky, or whatever the saying is. The thin, or the blue, whatever it is. Yeah, anyway. So, again, my analogies and my terms all mixed up here. What is it? Out of the clear blue sky? No. Thin air. You guys know what I mean, right? I'm having one of those Joe Biden moments with, the thing. But anyway, that's what a post-constitutional republic is. And unfortunately, I think that we are degrading into that more and more all the time because of convenience. And I think red flag laws are going to be that for the most part, where they're going to say, well, we need them. Okay, so it's okay to trample on due process for public safety, and we're not going to do it through constitutional convention just because the court gave it to us, and that's it. That's what's going to happen. So unless there is a court that's willing to stand up for what the Constitution says, I don't think they're going to be overturned. So we'll see. They won't be overturned on Second Amendment grounds. I think they'll be overturned eventually, maybe on, Fifth Amendment grounds, but who knows? Who knows what the future holds? This stuff takes so long to adjudicate, but yeah. And I think that sometimes people don't realize the monsters that they create. And so, for example, once the government has the power to deny people rights without due process, and of course, right now, the left is completely fine with it being for guns because they don't care about guns. But wait till it comes to other rights. First Amendment, Fifth Amendment rights. Well, you don't really have a right to a fair trial. It's public safety after all. I mean, we've already done it to the Second Amendment. We can do it to the Fifth now because of political convenience. And they'll be all up in arms about it. Oh my God. It's like, you open the door to this. It's the same thing I tell all of the FUDs, I guess we call them, when it came to the bump stock ban. I don't care about bump stocks. I don't own one. They're stupid. The government should be able to ban them. Okay, then let's pass law. Let's not have the ATF do it. Because once they get this power, they're going to ban everything else. Oh, no, they're not. And now they're trying to ban, braced pistols like this one. They're trying to ban, just simple machines like, or machine parts for we'll call them silencer parts. Oh, it's a tube. Yeah, it's a tube I bought at Home Depot to fix plumbing. Oh, it's a silencer. It's part of a silencer. But used to make a silencer. It's a silencer now, and you can go to jail. So we give them this power. And the door was open because of the Trump administration, and all the FUDs that supported the bump stock ban allowed this to happen. Eventually, they're going to come for the stuff that they care about, because you gave the government that power. So anyway, I think that's all the questions I had. I think I answered all three. If you guys have any other questions for me, post them in the comment section below this video. And yeah, this was a real rambly one. I forgot terms. I forgot sayings. I stuttered a bunch. Yeah, this is unscripted Jason right here. So anyway, let me know what you think. I hope I answered your questions. So as always, thanks for watching.